Suppose America would be better off with a multi-party political system. Or that's what I hear so often from people. I studied politics for almost 2 decades now. Jesus, I'm getting old, and I've been using one simple rule for the past 10 years or so. Eliminate bad answers before trying to find correct answers. Everyone seems to hate this, but I've found in politics, well, it's unique and it's odd in that regardless of your qualifications, everyone has a valid and equal opinion. This is different from, say, physics, where your personal opinion on string theory is only taken as seriously as your expertise in the subject. Worse yet, politics in modern Western democracies fails to deliver on its promises if you treated it like physics and only let the experts have their say on things. If those experts could even agree themselves. Moreover, I'd question any physics conference that insisted I be there and participate, because I'm about as useful with physics as an asshole attached to your elbow, as kinky as that might be for some of you. So I started explaining away silly statements like the one above about multi-party systems because it was just a better way to get people searching themselves for a subset or of correct answers that they like. I think of this as an asshole-centric Socratic method, where I tell people an idea they like sucks, but without giving an alternate answer. So in turn, they get so pissed off they start researching things themselves. Eat your heart out, Plato. Diogenes was right. The idea of a multi-party political system being better than our two-party system in America is always my first indicator someone is talking out their ass. First, almost every system is two-party. Sure, you can have parliamentary systems and runoffs instead of 2 parties and primaries, but the end result 95% of the time is the 2 major center-right and center-left parties enter into a runoff, with notable exceptions like France recently, where both major parties were told to fuck off, and they ran an independent against the fully right-wing candidate. In America, our primaries function similarly. It's just most people prefer center-right and center-left, so those candidates generally filter out the fringe candidates. Both systems essentially function the same at the end of the day. You can always look towards Japanese politics for a wonderful example of how these political factions, as I call them, operate generally. This is because Japan, while being a Western democracy, is essentially a one-party state, with the center-right Liberal Democrat Party holding control of the government for all but 4 years since the end of World War II. And the 2 times the socialists did take over in '93 and 2006, they fucked things up so royally they got booted out the next election cycle. So in the Liberal Democrats, your positions are all relatively similar, but the faction you belong to matters more than anything. Your patron politician, whether it's Koizumi, the consummate moderate, or the current Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe, the staunch nationalist, mattered more than the letter next to your name. Your faction matters more because the LDP always wins. Even if they are sometimes so corrupt their ministers just commit suicide rather than answer inquiries about why purified water costs taxpayers millions of dollars. Real situation, there's the link. This interplay of factions, though, explains, for example, how American Republicans went from I have a way to kill terrorists, spread democracy, and get us oil in 2002 to we have the only president to not start new wars in 2018. And to pick on the other side, same thing for how American Democrats went from marriage is between a man and a woman and we need to control the border in 2008 to you better make love to that trans Latinx undocumented worker right now, bigot, in 2022. It's the same 2 political parties, but the factions in control are what matters. We dilute a complex moving machine into a set binary choice. Project Diablo 2 has its own faction problem, or lack of understanding about factions in it. There's your smooth-ass transition after that long introduction. Moreover, understanding the wants, needs, and motivations of each group is really key to evolving our understanding of the changes we want. It's even more critical because while in voting in politics, my vote gets cast against 13 million other Virginians and then against 330 million other Americans at the federal level, we have so much more direct contact with our dear leaders. Cue some jackass complaining about the Electoral College in the comments. So I see 3 major factions in Project Diablo 2. It's the conservatives, the casuals, and the grinders. I'm obviously going to satirize and make fun of all these groups, but each is actually a vitally necessary component to the system. The conservatives of PD2 are the ones constantly striving for a revival, which people always get wrong ideas about revivals. It's not that you want to reinvigorate the Roman Empire, but more so trying to create a new one in the image of the old. Old things died because they failed, and a revival is a call to bring back the pillars that made something great and held a society up, while accepting the accepting modern changes need to be made. These people are often obsessed with culture, as their political counterparts are, and stress the need for a moral base to construct the revival on. PD2 conservatives are concerned with long-term game health and corrupting influences that may harm health, like inane price checks, excessive greed in trading, and not understanding hard or grindier gameplay for the long-term payoff. The prototypical example of this is, fucking me. Sorry. Conservatives might be annoying and pushy, but we have our points. The best of conservatives are trying to make useful videos on how to help the game survive, as I did, and the worst of them are shitposting and frustration, as I also did. That lore change video is still, in my opinion, the funniest damn thing I ever wrote, and I'm sad no one liked it. The casuals of PD2 are the ones looking for balance. They're generally the people looking out for the little guy, generally deriding maps, player-level changes, detesting the grind fest of the political elites and their rune wealth, and favoring changes to gameplay that help sustain interaction short-term with immediate results. The best of the casuals make compelling, real-life-centered arguments for the way greater loot drops help sustain the game. The worst of them are shitposting about the lack of maroons and running off to D2R. The casuals are, again, though, a very necessary component. I mean, knowing their stance and background is almost more important than the facts argued. I mean, for example, I didn't mind the loot changes to maps at all, but in the face of D2R's updates and my fears for the long-term health of the game, I think the casuals are now right about maps needing a change back to players 5 or even higher. Though they're still not wrong about Season 2 Boazon. It wasn't just OP, it was fucking broken, nerds, get over it. The grinders of PD2 are, well, cunts. But they're our cunts. They're the guys generally who supply our Annihilus and early season torches. They have the odd semi-GG items for a couple high runes when you're finally middle class in PD2 after a few weeks. While there's a constant stream of bullshit from the casuals about this game constantly catering to grinders, they provide the meat of the economy. Remember your Pareto distributions here. If we have 10,000 players, 100 people are gaining 50% of the wealth. Probably a little less because of how loot drops works. You know, you can get no pay for today, a week's pay, or even a year's pay at random, so it's probably a little off, but they are the ones furiously masturbating over the extra gold rune they saved in a trade by undercutting the undercut on the trade site. But they're also probably the people making build guide videos and showcasing top-end builds that help people make decisions on what they'd like to play. Well, I've now read for a long fucking time, and I don't know how this matters, you say. Well, fear not, baby birds, I'll feed you. So, knowing everything isn't a black and white choice like P3 maps versus P5, and acknowledging the viewpoints of individuals making up these factions matters as a starting point, while, yes, taking into account actual evidence, it's key to changing your own mind about things. For any philosophy majors out here, this is a really simplified concept of existentialism, which is the objectively correct philosophical viewpoint. I will personally give helicopter rides Pinochet style to any postmodernist bitches who disagree. This is long as fuck, so I'll wrap up the conclusion. If you understand factions, you can understand changes to the game better, build guides better, you might even, dare I say it, grow a little bit, and become a valued member of a small, tight-knit community, all striving for relatively the same thing. A dope-ass revival of a beloved title that is going to be dry-fucked by the remaining Activision staff unless Microsoft decides to clean house. So, to make your next season as great as it can be, start now by breaking down what changed or what didn't go right for you this season. I ignored my own guide and ditched a magic finder to start the season, thinking my map luck wouldn't change. While one of my group mates found one of literally every high rune this season in maps, I managed a Ja-Ohm at the top end all season. I don't want to start in a hole, so I'm looking at what the other grinders do as a faction. I'm checking out Singer and Goldfind barbs to stack orbs and rejuves and sell at a consistent price. I'm gonna look at what the casuals did, flocking to Necromancer because of changes made to it. It's still expensive to gear with skillers, which again I always advised against, but it's so strong now it can be played with no gear, allowing for easy entry to maps early in the season. I don't want to start in a hole again like I did this season and suffer because of it. I don't like or agree with these factions in PD2, but fuck, I can't ignore what they bring if I want to have fun. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Ask yourself, did I set myself up for success? Did I do any research preseason to better my chances of success? Am I now engaging in bullshit and delusion, blaming things like map changes for my lack of success? Did I shit on other people with different ideas and not incorporate into how they play the game into my own ideas? I fucked up on almost all of these, and I'll be doing an hour or two of research to make sure my season is great again next season. So turn that complaint in about P3, P5 maps into something constructive. Go generate a funny meme, because even that helps the community if done authentically. And don't leave moronic jackass comments on a summon Amazon video about it not being faster than a Boazon, because you're a simple-minded toolbag who wants to go burr. And always remember the existentialist theory. Understand individual viewpoints and live authentically. If you do those two things, it's hard to fail. And it will be hard for us to fail. Later, guys.